Good evening, and welcome to the latest Hair and Barber Council webinar. An introduction to Chris Guy and James Moore from RRK. I think Chris, most of you probably met before, and James is joining us this evening because he's a specialist in the chosen topic this evening, which is wills and the corporate will care scheme. We're also hoping to be joined by Danny from E4's Body Fixers. He's having a few travel and technical issues, so he's going to drop in as soon as he can. Before we get cracking, just a quick update from the Hair and Barber Council as to what's been going on in the last few days and the last week since we met last as the last webinar. Of course, we've got the budget on Wednesday, and we've been lobbying really hard for two specific things. So one is a reduction in VAT, and we've asked for a reduction in VAT of 10%. We've also asked for direct support for employers who take on apprentices, because come the start of April, national wage is going to go up, and that's going to go up for everybody, but it's going up by 21% for apprentices. And that's a real struggle for the vast majority of employers. And what we don't want to see is this cliff edge of the wages go up and the number of apprentices go down because they just can't afford to be paid. So we're going to keep lobbying. We will aim to have a webinar on Wednesday evening of this week at 7 p.m. I'll pop around the details tomorrow, which is Tuesday, to where Colette and I can just review what's been going on in the budget and the key points that affect hairdressers, and whether that's in a salon or freelance. So yeah, watch this space. Okay, that's enough intro from me. So Chris, James, over to you.
Thank you. Thanks ever so much, Gareth. And hello, everyone. Hopefully familiar face. I'm really pleased to introduce my colleague James here, who heads up the Corporate Will Care Scheme department. We recognised how difficult your sector is at the moment, particularly post-COVID. A lot of your staff, we hear, are leaving and setting up in competition, and you're finding it difficult to replace those bums on seats with those that have set up in competition. So it's a real recruitment issue, an industry issue. So we listened and we thought, how can we get something together to help you? So the Corporate Will Care Scheme was invented, and we've trademarked this very scheme. And I'll let James discuss it in further detail, but hopefully this will really help you solve these issues that you're finding, because it's very unique, and I think you need something unique to capture attention of candidates employees that are thinking of going elsewhere and setting up in competition, or getting new experienced or employees to get on the seats there. So I'll hand you over to James, but I hope you find this interesting.
Thank you, Chris. Hello, everyone. Really delighted to be here for the first time. I am, as Chris says, the head of the Corporate Will Care Scheme at RLK Solicitors. I'm just going to talk in a little bit of detail about what exactly it is and why it is of benefit to you as an employer. Firstly, a little bit about myself. I've been in this industry for 10 years, dealing with wills, trusts, powers of attorney. Got a lot of experience in this field, and that's why I am head of this team that we've got here at RLK Solicitors. So the Corporate Will Care Scheme is, as Chris briefly mentioned there, it's an offering that we have to give to yourselves as employers to enhance what you currently have as your benefits package to your employees. Staff retention, as Chris mentioned there, is something that's a real concern to a lot of you guys in the industry, and being able to stand out from your competitors, for those that want to perhaps go it alone. This is something that really does make your offering to an employee a lot stronger, something that is of use to them. So it's tailor-made and it'll work around your business. We would be the ones to provide the necessary advice to your employees, and that would include wills, trusts, powers of attorney. It can also include guidance on some tax planning as well. So there may be inheritance tax issues, but with wills, there are a lot of circumstances and a lot of different wishes people want to achieve. So we would be there to provide that guidance to all of your employees. And it's something, as we say, that will enhance your existing benefits package to try and keep those staff with you. The benefits to you is that there's nothing for you to do. There's no administration you need to deal with. It will be done by ourselves here. And we'd work around your business hours as well. So by that, I mean, we wouldn't be affecting your day-to-day running of your businesses. We would be able to deal with your employees out of hours. We'd work it around them, offer as much flexibility as possible, because we ultimately want to help you guys and your employees. And the cost of this benefit to yourselves to offer that to your employees, it will completely outweigh a staff replacement cost. You'll know better than me what the costs can be for having recruitment drives, the training, and ultimately the time that you lose as well by having to replace your experienced staff. And also an additional benefit is you get discounted legal fees. So RLK, we don't just do wills, of course. You'll know Chris and the team that also offer litigation. We have a family department. We've got a conveyancing department. We've also got a private client department that deals with probate as well. So that's a real big benefit to yourself as business owners. If you do need us, then you can use us at that discounted rate. So for your employees, the benefit is 60% of the population don't have a will. Now, as your employees will generally be younger, that statistic is probably a lot higher. People need to put things in place, make sure that their affairs are looked after. And speaking from personal experience, when these things aren't set up, it adds to stress, and with mental health issues with staff often becoming more and more of an issue, we want to alleviate as much of that stress as possible. And by offering this out, it's something that your employees don't have to worry about. They don't have to spend a great deal of time affecting how they're working for you. This is something that they will know is safe and secure, and they'll be able to recognise that it's you guys as their employers that have been able to put this in place for them. It's something very serious that they do need to set up, and they'll always be able to remember that that is you as the employer. And this is something that's really unique. You have your private medical insurance, gym memberships, things like that. This is something else that's a lot more personal, I would say. So it's something that, again, that they will appreciate. And nobody wants to pay tax, any sort of tax. So trying to avoid inheritance tax bills by having the correct advice, the correct planning, that's something we'd really try and help them with as well. So just a little bit about the actual products we offer with the corporate will care scheme. We've got wills, common misconceptions that come up. People think that their common law partner may just receive everything, that they're not protected by the law in this country. There's no guarantee that they receive anything at all. There's also the case where you are married. Some people believe that everything will just go to their spouse. That's not always the case. And even when there is a will that's being set up, it might not be doing what you need. There are your assets that you've worked all your life for that can be attacked by things such as divorce, marriage after death, or what's known as sideways disinheritance, where a couple will leave everything to each other in a common scenario, and then the surviving spouse or partner, they remarry, revokes their will, and all of a sudden everything you've worked for can go down to a different family's bloodline. Care costs as well is another big one. I appreciate as employees, it's not something you're concerned about now, but getting it in place ready is something you should consider, because more and more of us are living longer, and then we're paying for care as well. Little things that can go in wills. it's important for those of you with young children who you'd want to look after your children, who'd be the guardians for them. If you own property, even if there's a mortgage on there, it's quite a sizable asset that you'd want to surely look after. Avoid it from going to the government, which can happen in some circumstances depending on what you've got in your will. And you can even have things such as your pets. We are a nation of pet lovers. What would happen to your little ones there? Would you want them to be looked after by certain people? You can specify those wishes in your will. It's really, really important to consider all of those things, and they would be things that we would touch on with you. Social media accounts, all of this is something that we can give you advice on what to do when the worst does happen. Then got lasting powers of attorney. Now, these are completely separate to wills, and I'm not sure how much you all know about these. Wills are quite common. Everybody understands what a will achieves. A lasting power of attorney is used if you're not able to manage your affairs. So if you were to lose capacity, you would have somebody that would be able to act on your behalf. They would be able to choose what care you'd receive, what medicines you'd be on, what treatment you get at hospitals, all of those things for your health and welfare, lasting power of attorney. And then you've got your property and financial, which surprisingly deals with all property and financial. So any paying of bills, buying and selling of property, which may need to happen if you've lost capacity. That can all be dealt with. And there's a few examples of this. It's getting more and more prominent. Kate Garraway, she's a big advocate for lasting powers of attorney. Unfortunately, you may have seen her husband. He recently passed away, but he lost capacity during COVID. And she had to pay a lot of bills to go to court just to have things such as get him a phone contract. And it cost thousands of pounds just to apply for that one. Of course, it would have been free if he was able to do so himself or he had lasting powers of attorney. There are people with dementia in their 20s now, which is obviously really concerning. And they, of course, have got lasting powers of attorney in place to mitigate those fees, because we don't want to be paying thousands and thousands to the courts and ultimately to the government. So those things can be quite as costly as not having a will. It's really important, almost like an insurance policy. You hope it's not used, but they really do have a big benefit if they are needed. So that's everything that we offer within our corporate will care scheme. It's really unique for your business to be able to offer this, to stand out and to be able to show that you care about your employees, and it's something that sets you out and it makes you different from the rest to have that kind of package. It's a thoughtful package, and we found that it has been really beneficial to those businesses that have taken us up on that. I appreciate there's a few more questions. You may have your own personal circumstances you may want to discuss with me. You've got my contact details that are on the screen for you now. And if you've got any questions at all about that, I'll be more than happy to answer them for you. Well, thank you very much for your time.
Thanks, James. We've had some questions come in, which I'll pop across. I can ask you now if that's okay.
Of course, yes.
First off, you mentioned about the cost of all these things. Can, through this scheme, the business pay for the will, the lasting power of attorney for the directors?
They can indeed, yes. And they will be discounted to our usual cost that we sell to your everyday customer that comes into us. It would be tailored to your business, and you would pay out of the business to us.
Okay, so that's a huge tax saving, isn't it, for every business owner, that they can get the business through the corporate wills care scheme to basically sort their own will and lasting power of attorneys out, whilst at the same time offering this to, and I guess you don't have to offer it to all staff, do you? You can just say it's my more senior, more important, higher fee earners that I'm going to offer this to.
Exactly. It would be tailored to how you wanted it to work. So we wouldn't expect you to offer that out to somebody that you've employed for a month, but somebody that's maybe had long service. Each business would be different. We understand that, and we'd work around you. We just ask that, of course, you'd make that clear to us, so we're not offering it to people that perhaps you didn't want us to offer it to.
Okay, now that's fantastic. Thank you. And I suppose linking in with that, often we're quite used to in hairdressing having a training agreement. I hope that most people are using those, that if we spent a lot of money training somebody, let's say to get a colour master degree, we're going to have some sort of clawback clause that if they left within a stated period, we would get the percentage of the training cost back. is it possible to do something like this with the corporate will care? Because I love the idea of using these personal benefits, which are way deeper than gym membership or something like that, as a retention tool to keep people employed. But of course, I know what people are cynically like, which is they take it, say thank you very much, and then go.
Absolutely, you can put that in place. I'd recommend that you put that in place as well, because the main benefit is to keep your staff, and you don't want to be incurring the cost. The reason that you'd be covering this is to keep your staff. So having something like that in place would be a no-brainer, to make sure that you could get that back. Yes.
Okay, and you could obviously advise and get that included in all of the agreement.
Absolutely, yes. We could certainly put that together, as and when you would need that to be done.
Okay, thank you. And we've got a question about common law. You mentioned about common law doesn't really have a status in English law. Is that the same for Scotland? I guess the question here must be probably Scottish. So
It is the same. It does apply to Scotland as well. So that's across the UK. There are subtle differences between Scottish wills and English wills, but that is still recognised the same way as England.
Okay, and there's no difference if it was a same-sex relationship, same-sex marriage.
No.
All very, very similar. Okay.
Yes. Yes.
Fantastic. Okay. I was about to introduce Danny there, but he just disappeared. Obviously the
I think he's still there. Yeah, is he?
No, he's back.
Sorry, guys.
Sorry,
guys. How are we doing?
Yeah, good. Thank you, and I'm really grateful you can join us from the side of the road, Danny.
I know, and not planned this way, to be honest with you. Today's been one of them days, bit of a whirlwind. I'm going to London tomorrow, so I just had so much to do today, and the day just ran away with me. I just dropped the kids off at grandparents, and I've just the time just sort of ran away with me today. So I do apologise.
I think every parent knows your pain here.
Yeah, so I'm just
it's
such a real situation.
No,
thank you, guys. Thanks for having me on.
Really, really good of you to join us. And I guess unless you've been living under a stone like I had, and E4, body fixers had kind of passed you by, you'll know who Danny is. But Danny is one of the foremost celebrity stylists and hairdressers of the industry at the moment, and we're hugely honoured that you took the time to join us. So thank you so much.
Thank you, sir.
And wonderful to have you and Chris, who were at school together, on the same webinar. I don't imagine that happens very often.
It doesn't. It's an honour to be on here with Chris.
So Danny, let's start right at the beginning to kind of get a bit under the skin of what got you into a wonderful creative industry in the first place. What made you choose that?
It's a good question. So I never ever wanted to be a hairdresser. That was never the plan. I didn't know what I wanted to do, to be honest with you. I was a bit of a class clown at school, so anything academic was kind of off the cards. And to be honest, the last resort was joining the army. But when I went to sign up and I got the military pack come through the post, my parents sat me down and was like, "This is definitely not happening. You're not joining the army." So I was like, well, I don't know what I'm going to do. And then that the next day, actually, I went to a friend of mine was learning to be a hairdresser, and he asked me to come in to be a model for one of the exams. And I turned out I was in there for about 3 or 4 hours just for a haircut, because I was just sat chatting away and talking to all the women in the hair salon getting the hair done. And the lady that day that owned the salon offered me a job, and I was like, no, definitely not. Don't want to do hair, definitely not. And I went home that day and I told my dad that I've been offered this job today, and he put me straight in the car and took me back to the salon. And he was like, "You're definitely going to have that job."
Army.
Anything but the army. So he shoved me in a hair salon and said, "You're definitely going to get this job done." And he said, "If you don't like it after you've qualified, then we'll find something else." But I really enjoyed the creativity side of it. I enjoyed the competition, to be honest with you. I was very, very competitive. I wanted to be the best in the salon, and then I wanted to be best in the town, and then best in the city, and then just that competitiveness in me has just pushed me further and further down the rabbit hole, I guess.
Yeah,
So,
and it is like that, isn't it? I mean, I think if you're creative, and I think this is the bit that we need to try and push across as much as we can to those joining the industry now, because it can seem like such hard work, and we've got to
yeah.
keep a real kind of a spotlight on that exciting bit at the end of the tunnel.
I think, to be honest with you, the career now is a much simpler career than it ever was. When I first started, it was like a bit of a military operation in a lot of salons. They would get you scrubbing the floors with toothbrushes, and they'd get you, cleaning everything like a fine-tooth comb. And now bosses are so soft that they daren't ask their staff to do these things because they're worried they're going to leave and they're going to go. So the industry has become really soft. And also, when I first started, you were kind of forced to do everything. You didn't have a niche. You was a hairstylist and you could do everything. There was no, picking your clients. Whereas now, thanks to social media, you can portray the stylist that you want to be, and you can ask, people. You can say, right, I'm solely going to do haircuts, or I'm solely going to do men's hair, and then that's who you become, basically. Whereas back in the day, you didn't really have a choice. But thanks to social media, we can tailor make our clients, and we can really pick what sort of niche we want to fall into. So I think now is the best time to become a hairstylist, because you can do whatever you want to do. And thanks to social media, wow, it's so much easier now. I mean, you could have been doing hairdressing for a year, and you go viral on social media, and all of a sudden you're the next big thing. Whereas our generation, it was hard work, graft, getting in front of the right people. Don't know how we did that, but it was almost just turning up at the right place at the right time. Whereas now social media does all that for you. It's much simpler. But yeah,
You say that because I think
go on.
It's really interesting you say that, because I think a lot of older people in every industry, not just ours, but in every industry, kind of look back to the way they trained and the way that their career developed with rose tinted glasses, and say that was the way I did it, so it must be the right way for new entrants now. And I'm sure that's the same in the law. I'm sure that's the same in every sector. But of course, you're absolutely right to say the world has fundamentally changed. And if we don't change the way we train and the way we recruit and the way we retain our staff with things like wills and other things, actually, we're not doing it right.
Well, I mean, the hairdressing industry is renowned for, a high staff turnover. We are probably the one of the highest staff turnover industries out there. We're losing staff left, right, and centre. And whether that's down to contractual, or whether it's down to the fact that the grass is always greener and people seem to find better options, I don't know what it is, but it's a really hard thing to do, keep staff. And in incentivizing them just doesn't seem to be enough these days. It's you could offer them the world, and when I had a salon, I was taking them on shoots, I was taking them to all these fancy places, I was promising them the world, and they would still find a reason to leave. And it's a really tricky one now for salon owners to keep staff.
I totally agree with that, and I think that actually there are some staff you'll never retain.
Yeah,
whatever you do, and you then have to just embrace with them the way they want to work, and as long as that is legal, then again we need to embrace that change within the sector. The challenge is a lot of people, as we've discussed many times with Chris before, where people are not doing that within the boundaries of the law, and I think that's particularly challenging at the minute. So was it the creativity that really inspired you to kind of to push through and to get on Instagram?
I'll tell you what it was. Everyone I knew told me that there's not enough money in hairdressing. Like everyone, they basically said, because I was always the first person to say, oh, I'm going to be a millionaire, I'm going to make millions, and they were like, not doing hair, you're not, like, think of something else. And I was just determined to prove them wrong. Like, I had this real, arrogance, maybe, that I was like, no, I'm going to show you I can do it with hair, and I'm going to show everybody else I can do it with hair, and you can make a lot of money in hairdressing. So I almost wanted to prove people wrong, and sort of like the doubters. That was a big motivator for me. And I remember when social media first came out, and it was all people's lunches and statuses about how they feel, and it was a very simple platform. And I remember putting hair on the platform and thinking, do you know what, this is free, I can put it out there and people from school can see it. So a bit of a background about myself, like, if I told you I was a hairstylist after school, and this is probably when Facebook came out, you would have never trusted me to do your hair, because I was just that clown at school, right? No one would have wanted me to touch your hair. So I had this real, like, yeah, exactly, Chris. So no one would have booked in with me, especially girls. Like, the lads might have done, and they've gone, yeah, you can do a haircut on me, but girls would have never booked in. So it was a massive trust element for me, getting people to trust the fact that I can do it. I used to go out on nights out and
cut my hair for the first time. That was a big thing.
It was a big thing, exactly. So I used to go out on nights out, and I used to try and convince these women to come and get their hair done, but I had nothing to show them. It was almost like, please, it was almost just begging people. So I thought, if I put pictures up of people in the chair, then surely that'll do it. And I remember people commenting on it saying, stop posting pictures of hair, I'm sick of seeing it. And I thought, well, that's obviously doing the right thing then. So then it got momentum. And I think posting early on definitely helped grow my career massively. But that's not to say that you've got to be early now to be successful. And I think a lot of people will go, oh, right, you got in there first, and that's why you're doing so well now. And I don't agree with that, because people can blow up, so quickly now on social media if you've got the talent to back it up. So if you're good creating content, if you're good at doing hair in the first place, if you're creative in that respect, I mean, that's the problem now with hairstylists. When you hire someone, you're not hiring just a hairstylist. You're hiring a photographer, videographer, an editor, a content specialist, content creator. Not only have they got to be a personality in the salon, but that personality has got to transpire onto social media. So, like, me now, hairdressing was just hairdressing back in the day, whereas now it's not. It's much bigger than that. It's it's a big spectrum of a job and of a career. So I think
so
a lot
would you
of people
describe yourself as a content creator then, more than a hairdresser now?
I would say it's fairly equal, to be honest. I would. I think it's just as important. If you're an amazing hairdresser, but you've got no idea how to market yourself, which is now social media, you almost need a master's in marketing. You're not going to go anywhere. You're going to be forgotten, and you're going to just sort of pass by, and things like that. Whereas if you want to actually get somewhere, you might be an average hairdresser, but you might be fantastic at marketing, and that's what's going to get you there. So it's a big part of your career now, and I would emphasize that on anyone that wants to get into hairdressing, and anyone that, as a salon owner, talking to their staff, marketing themselves is a huge benefit. The only problem is, once somebody gets big on social media, they don't need you anymore. So they'll leave. So this is why I say to people that I know a lot of hair salons will say that they're not allowed their own social media. They're not allowed to talk to clients themselves, and there's a lot of barriers up because they're afraid that they're going to take them and leave and things like that. But I just think that's kind of the way of the world now. It's just
for sure
difficult.
Actually, this goes back to the retention issue, because if you're putting these barriers and in front, particularly for employees, and you're saying You know, you will not do this. People are going to say, well, I want the forbidden fruit. I want to do that, and I'm going to push back. Again, all of us who are parents know that you say to your child, don't do that. What will they do? Exactly
do
that.
it.
And I'm not saying by any measure, just to be completely clear here, that our stylists are like children. Not all the time anyway. And so I completely agree with you. I think we all need to embrace this change. We need to embrace our staff promoting themselves to promote our business.
Yeah.
And so you know, you got your big break. And is it Instagram that is the platform that you would completely put your time into? You wouldn't use any of the others, or do you use TikTok as well?
I would say that Instagram is more of a it's more of a magazine. All right, so like that's like your magazine, that's like your Vogue, that's where all your nice pretty pictures are, and people can look through it like a catalogue, and then they can go, oh, I like this one looks good. TikTok is more of a lifestyle, so that's an introduction to you. It's an introduction to your way of life, how you talk to clients, how you advise, anything like that. And TikTok, you've probably got 80% more chance of going viral and doing well than you have on Instagram. Instagram's a lot trickier. It's a lot harder to do really well on Instagram. And the problem is now is social media. I feel like I'm just blabbing on about social media, to be honest. But you've kind of got to be native to each platform. So it's not like you can take one video and post it on all the platforms and get the same results. You've kind of got to think, right, what does Instagram want to see? What does TikTok want to see? You know, and if you want to go down the rabbit hole and go on Snapchat and YouTube Shorts, and there's so much you can do, but every piece of content has got to be native to that platform, which means marketing now is 50% of your career, because you've got to create a lot of it.
I think that's really interesting, isn't it? Because what you're saying is that a hairdresser isn't just a hairdresser anymore. If they want to go down the session styling, celebrity, in your instance, television route, actually what you're saying is that if that's the route you want, you need to be able to do the marketing, because you're not going to be able to afford to employ somebody to start with. You need to do that, and you need to choose your platform really wisely.
Yeah, absolutely. And I would say to anybody that if you want the opportunities that I've had, if you want to work with celebrities and go on TV and do all these things, then you need to promote yourself, not just hair. I'm not talking about what you're eating for lunch. I'm talking about how you talk to clients, how you recommend, why you're doing the things you're doing. It's almost like I always say to people, it's almost like the Kardashian effect. So it's like somebody following you around, like watching your every move and understanding why you do the things you do. And that's what gets you noticed. The back of somebody's head, if that's all your page is saying, then no one's going to notice you. No one's going to know who does the hair. You might be fantastic. You might be, 10 out of 10 at cutting hair. But if they can't see you in it, no one's going to book you for anything. They don't even know who you are. They don't know if they're going to get on with you. They don't know if they like your sense of humor, anything like that. So if you want opportunities for yourself, then you have to promote yourself, not just promote the work you do.
Okay, that's really interesting. So you're talking about personality there, aren't you? You're saying actually put a personality onto the work that you do. And a lot of people need a bit of persuading, I think, put the camera on their own face rather than on the back of the head.
Well, a lot of people will say, I have a personal Instagram and I have a business Instagram. And they put everything about themselves on the personal, and the business one is solely hair. And I always say in my classes that is the wrong thing to do. They should be intertwined. Even if it was just 15% of you, just a little something, it's the first thing I look for. If somebody follows me on Instagram and it looks like a business, then I'll probably flick straight off it. Whereas if I see the founder of the business, you know, completely, you know, telling me about them and their journey, their highs, their lows, their this, their that, their product recommendations. I'm so much more engaged in what they've got to say. So
Well, it's the old thing: people buy off people, whether they're
absolutely.
buying widgets or they're buying hair or they're buying a career. Actually, you buy it off
Yeah.
people.
Absolutely. And a lot of people would say to me now that, and a lot of people still say to me, you know, they can't charge what they want to charge because they're from a certain town or they live in a certain area, or, you know, everybody around them everyone's salon around them charges about the same. So we don't really want to step into that realm. And I say I'm probably charging 5 times anybody in my town. You know, and that's because of social media. It's because of the personality that I've created. And, you know, every time I quote somebody now, it's not a no, it's I'm going to save up. I definitely want to come, you know, or do you do a payment plan? Like, people will pay, they'll commit to paying because they want the result and they want to meet me, you know. So it's one of those things where you've really got to sell yourself more than you're selling the product, really.
That's, you know, it's so good to hear that, Danny, because then there's a couple of guys I can see who are on this webinar watching who are going to be, I can just imagine them nodding as you say that, because, you know, this is one of the, you know, we've got loads of issues in our sector at the moment, and I think sometimes too much weight is put on all the problems, and we don't concentrate enough on the great bits about what we all do. But charging our worth is absolutely the key to success. Whether you're freelance sole trader, whether you're running a team of 20, charging worth is the key to it all, and not looking round the corner. What does everybody else within my half-mile square charge? And I'm going to go £3 less on a full head of colour because I just want to undercut them. And we've all had those conversations with people where we're pleading with them not to do that.
No, definitely not. Definitely not.
So,
I always say to people, like, the thing is with social media, and obviously we can talk freely on here. Hopefully there's no clients watching. Basically, the good thing about social media, right, is it's a game. It really is. It's a fun little game. All right. And let's say now I'm fully booked. Okay. And I'm fully booked for, let's say, 3 weeks. So you've got to think I've got a 3-week buffer really that I can play with. So the next person that inquires, I can make up a number. It doesn't matter. I've not got a price list anywhere. I can make up the number. So whenever I do a class and I get all these people coming in, I say, right, how much do you charge? And this lady, she charges £100 for a colour and a cut. And I say, right, the next person that messages you, I want you to tell them it's £200. And they go, no, I couldn't do that. No, I couldn't do that. And they're already sweating. It's not even happened. It's just a, you know, scenario. And they're already sweating. And I go, honestly, £200. If you do these steps where you show a bit of personality, you prove that you can do the work. Somebody messages, you say, yeah, my prices start from £200. I can get you booked in next week. No problem. Blah, 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 blah. He said, I always say, if they say no, you say to the next person until they say yes, you know, because you've got 3 weeks of people paying £100, or the next person that messages, you can say, oh, it's £150. It's just a game. You know, you may as well ask for what you want and stop thinking what they want to pay. That's the biggest thing. People think they talk to people like they'll whether they know they're doing it or not, but they're judging them and going, just 100 for today.
Yeah.
What are you worth? Yeah. Just call it 100 today. Even if they've done 120 quid, 150 quid's worth of colour, they'll be go, just call it 100 today. And they feel guilty for charging.
But actually, you know, with Chris and James are probably in a very similar position. I'm sure that actually solicitors are really bad at setting pricing. And you would say, where in the market do I want to position myself? Right,
yeah.
I'm not Magic Circle, which is one of the top firms in the country. I'm not High Street. I'm somewhere in the middle. So I'm going to price myself somewhere in the middle. And actually, I'm sure in law, just like in hair, that's not the right approach.
Exactly, it's exactly the same. And my department particularly, we're not Magic Circle, but we are the leaders in that field. There is no other law firm as good as us. And you've got it's very difficult. You've got to work out, where do I pitch myself? This is exactly the same as you. And
if you're Danny, number one, Chris. If you're number one, then you should certainly be, portraying that on social media, which means you can charge more than this circle business.
Sure, exactly that. And you know what? I did a very similar approach to you a few years ago, and because I saw you on social media the other day, I thought fair play. I think you said first 10 people. You were live streaming in your car at the time, very similar to what you're doing now. First 10 people to get back to me. Was it a free day? Was it free? I think it was free, wasn't it?
50% off.
That's right, 50% off. And I thought fair play, because yeah, you'll get 10, but you'll get 1,000. Because they want to be first in the queue. A bit of a loss leader sort of.
Yeah.
Currys do it. PC will do it. Fair play.
Exactly.
So should you.
Exactly. They all do it, and I thought the exact same thing. I thought, right, I've got a couple of gaps in the next few months. Let's just fill them, because 100% of nothing is better than 50% of, 100% of nothing is worse than 50% of something. So, that was my mentality. Just fill the gaps. And I just thought, it's one of those things. And 50% of what I charge is still quite nice. So
yeah, absolutely right. So just popping back, because we're quickly going to run out of time here, Danny. Just popping back to body fixers. One of the things that we've been asked is, how long do you get with each person? Because of course we watch it, and the bit that you're on for is like, with the ad breaks, it's 10, 12 minutes of interview. Assessment, and then there's an ad break, and we're all kind of waiting to see what happens next, and then we might see you for like 3 or 4 minutes doing your magic, and then there's the reveal.
That's all it was, 3 minutes, and then
just like
done.
That.
Story of my life. We probably had about 6 hours with each person, because they would stop and start filming, but when they stop filming, you have to pause working as well. So because they want to capture all the moments.
Continuity of the image has got to look the same.
Yeah, and they would film one person to the next person and go, right, we're going to get a bit of the other guy now. So you guys pause, and I was like, well, I can't really pause because this is processing. So I need to almost finish this part. So it was quite long-winded, and we probably transformed about 100 people. But only 30 people actually, make the cut, because some people have a better story, some people are a bit more entertaining to watch. So there was certain people that I transformed, and I was like, what happened to that person? That was amazing. And they were like, yeah, it didn't transpire very well, so I was gutted. But yeah, it was a really fun thing to do. It was quite surreal, really, when I think about it now. But a great opportunity nonetheless.
Yeah, and what I think it shows is that if you put yourself out there and you've got a bit of talent, and by talent I mean talent in terms of hands on the tools, being able to do the job, that's a prerequisite. But actually, you've then got a bit of talent to market yourself and put yourself across really nicely. This is an opportunity that's open to anyone. Why not?
Absolutely,
give it a go.
People in that industry are looking for personalities. They're not looking for the most talented person in the world. They're looking for somebody who people will like. People that people can relate to, or they're looking for people that are going to work well with others. That sort of thing. They're not looking for a lone ranger like this. Person that's got high opinions, and that kind of person won't necessarily fit into that industry very well. So you just got to be a nice person. You just got to be a nice guy and portray yourself well. Nice guy, nice girl, and portray yourself on social media well. And the opportunities will come. I think a lot of people go chasing opportunities, or they don't, because they think it's too out of reach. But they will come to you if you shine bright enough. They will come to you.
I think that's amazing, isn't it? Is just give it a go.
Give it a go.
Trust yourself. Put yourself out there, and good things happen to nice people.
Yeah, exactly. And they really do. They really do. They're always looking for people and the next big thing and the next personality. And celebrities are the same. Celebrities will just message you directly, and or you'll get their agent message you, and they're always scrolling. Everyone's scrolling through social media now, so you just got to be on there and be in front of people.
I was so proud when you got the Ollie Murs job, the wedding. Wow.
Yeah, it's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, awesome opportunity. It's fantastic.
Yeah, that is fantastic. Now you took Danny, you mentioned a few times about these classes you run.
Yeah.
Can you give us a bit more info? And what we'll do then, we'll pop a link with some more information and booking details when we put the recording and the slides up on the website.
Yeah, awesome. That sounds great. Thanks, guys. So yeah, I run these master classes, and they can be small, they can be big, they can be one-on-one. You know, they can be completely tailor-made. But a lot of it is building confidence within hairdressers, to not only be able to work the way I work and create the looks that I create. Everything I do is really simplified. I don't like overcomplicating anything. I think that's the lazy hairdresser in me. I think I do it a very manly way. I tend to cut corners, and I think people love that approach. So I tend to teach how I do the colours, how I do cutting, styling, all the rest of it. But I also go into big depth on how to create opportunities for yourself, how to run your social media, how to post, and how to better yourself financially. It's a lot of it is how to charge your worth, how to do that and the steps to do that, how to use social media. So it's almost like a class in becoming the hairdresser that you always wanted to be, not just like a MVQ hairdresser or MVQ level 1, 2, 3. This is you becoming a really successful stylist and recognized stylist, and that's what I try and teach in the classes. So
Okay, that sounds amazing and massively inspirational. So yeah, we'll when I pop the recording up on the website, I'll send an email around as well to everybody, and we'll get your link up there. But Danny, that's fantastic. Thank you so much, and thank you so much for pulling over, sitting in the back of your car, and
yeah, I am sorry about this setup, guys.
Oh, no,
I wish I had film cameras and all the rest of it, but no, not tonight, I'm afraid.
And thank you also for Chris and James for really interesting and really actually very important points about extra benefits to retain our staff and how we can best do that. And again, we'll include all of the details about how you get in touch with both James and Chris on the slides when we put them up on the website. So yeah, thank you all very much for your time this evening, and yeah, look forward to seeing you all again soon.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Cheers, Gareth.
Bye bye.
Cheers, Chris. James,
Cheers, thank you.
see you later,
Bye.
mate.
Cheers.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.